Good morning, friends. Mowat-Smith here, and we got something really exciting for you today. I'm going to see Eric Johnson tonight, and it sounds like we got an interview with Mr. Tommy Taylor.
That's the prettiest sweater you got on. That's the pretty y'all sweater.
Oh, thank you, man.
All right.
It's the only thing I got that's clean.
Friends, it's my honor to introduce you to someone who needs no introduction, but that ain't gonna stop me. His musical resume has been listened to over 15 million times on Spotify alone. He refers to yours and my musical heroes as bandmates. He embodies the word Austin and drums. He's currently working on a soon-to-be released record and on the road with fellow original Avia Musicom alumni, burning up the stages across the U.S., playing the album in its entirety. Thank you so much for making time for us, Mr. Tommy Taylor. How is he into the Biscuit tour, as it's alternatively been titled thus far? And could you briefly explain to our viewers what that's all about?
Well, the Biscuit is the proper pillow for sleeping, you know, and it's very difficult to find the right biscuit. And so, I mean, you know, it's in search of the lost biscuit. You know, the Moody Blues has In Search of the Lost Chord. We're in search of the lost biscuit, and hopefully, you know, somewhere along the way, maybe, you know, I don't know, we find one. Maybe I heard they have good biscuit like in Nashville, you know, and we're going there, so you know, it might work out. I don't know.
Awesome. The world itself, let alone the musical climate, is almost indistinguishable from when Via Musicom was released. Was curious what you miss about touring back then, and what do you prefer about bringing the tour to the fans these days?
Well, I think our fans, have stuck with us for a long time. We have a lot of new fans. That's always nice to play the music for people that weren't even aware of it when it happened. But I think part of the downside of it is that there's so much saturation, with accessibility of video performance of live performances on YouTube and things like that. That I think the aha factor and the excitement factor of not having seen it before or anything like it before is gone somewhat. So it's a mixed bag there. I mean, luckily I think that, the fans that we've had for a long time, they have stuck with us and they really enjoy it, and the new fans are warmed up to it. But I don't know that anything will ever be as exciting as it was back in the day when you didn't have such accessibility to different mediums like that.
Mine is mostly guitar audience, but for the drum nerds out there, could you just tell us quickly about you're playing the Rosewood teardrop drums, the Sonars?
Yeah, they're actually a very similar kit to the kit that I used on Tones, and I opted for that because I had them. And they just happened to have the 20-inch bass drum, which would accommodate the original head that I used, the Tommy Taylor logo head that I had on Austin City Limits. I just thought it'd be kind of a nice throwback thing. I really like, there's a certain aspect of those drums that's really unique that I really have always enjoyed. And it's something I was revisiting even before I got the opportunity to do the tour with Eric. So it just happened to be, kind of a match made in heaven like that sort of. So,
a quick question from a guest drummer question here. He was curious about your philosophy on writing drum parts. Do you like to craft grooves carefully like a classical composer? Do you prefer more of a reactive, improvisational approach based on what Eric's doing?
I mean, with Eric's music, a lot of it's scripted a little bit. He and I will work together to sort of manifest parts, transitional parts that go. That fit well with what he's doing so that he can do what he needs to do. I don't really think too much about what I'm doing otherwise. I kind of let it happen spontaneously, although certain things are repeated. It's a repeated theme. I might have a certain thing that I play the same way every time on a song because it works with the part, it works with the song there. My friend John Blundell said the greatest thing I've ever heard any musician ever say is just listen to the music, it'll always tell you what to play. And I don't think anything truer has ever really been said. I mean, you just kind of wait and you'll just automatically play what's appropriate if you're in that moment, and you try. I mean, I kind of try to unconsciously tell a story with the drum part. Like if you pull the drums, if you pull everything off of a recording except the drums, you listen to what I play. I mean, even unbeknownst to me, I'll listen back to it, and there's actually kind of like a storyteller thing. It's developing behind it. Things are added, and it gets bigger, and things change. And it's almost literary in a way.
Your history with Eric, in my first hearing you, goes back to Christopher Cross's 1979 self-titled album. Looking at the liner notes now, it's hard not to see just how star-studded a debut album that was.
Yeah.
Did you have any sense when you were cutting that record that it would beat Pink Floyd for a Grammy, or that you were planting seeds that would find you here with Eric some 40 years later?
You know, I knew Eric before I joined Christopher Cross. I knew Eric for quite some time. We were both kind of, you know, child prodigies, if you will, in the same town. He was a little older than I was, but we were both playing, you know, places we shouldn't have been playing when we were very young. So, you know, with Chris, Christopher Cross was a band that I joined. It wasn't his name. He's a solo. He became a solo artist and took that name. But we, you know, I knew when I heard the first demos that I was played that they did before I joined the band. It was really something special, and I fought really hard to secure the job with that band. I don't think any of us expected the success that we had. I think we were really just hoping that we'd sell enough records that they'd let us do another one. You know, I mean, we loved, we loved that music. It was a big community behind that band and behind that recording process and everything, and we were really dedicated to that. And I think that, you know, I mean, you always hope for the best. I mean, it was my first ride up the ladder. I mean, I joined that band when I had just turned 20, and I recorded that album when I just turned 22. I was just a kid, and I'd never been really in a big studio like that or on a major label or anything. It was a really, you know, it was pretty exciting times to go from playing fraternity parties and nightclubs to being in Los Angeles and, you know, hanging around with major stars like that, you know, and making a record like that. I mean, but, you know, I mean, I think the record speaks for itself. I mean, you know, I've never made any apologies for that record. I think it's, I mean, people, you know, thought it was maybe too slick, too commercial. It was exactly what we wanted it to be at the time, and it filled a void. There was a big gap there at that time, and I think it was a very opportune situation for that record to come to fruition. I still love the record. I mean, whatever differences I've had with Chris or anything like that, I mean, we're, you know, all of us are real proud of being involved with that, you know.
And so you should be. Not to take up too much more of your time, but just one or two more things I wanted to ask you. You toured the world and shared the stage with almost every guitar legend imaginable. So, like, not to mention folks like B.B. King, Eric Burdon, John Mayall. I was curious, what are some of the jams that you hold closest to your heart, like something that pops out immediately?
Well, you know, I mean, I'm still amazed. You know, there's the YouTube videos out there of us playing with having John Mayall sit in at the Canyon Club. I mean, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers wrote the book for, you know, that whole idiom of English blues rock, and, you know, he came out to our show as a fan. He bought a ticket. He didn't ask us or contact us beforehand. He walked into the stage with a guitar and asked us if we'd sign it.
Oh, great.
You know, and it was like being able to play, you know, Stepping Out is a song that we've always done, you know, and All Your Love is the quintessential, you know, the Otis Rush tune, quintessential John Mayall. I mean, I found about All Your Love, you know, from John Mayall, not from Otis Rush. I had to go back and find out about Otis Rush after the fact. So to be able to have videos of that actually captured of us playing those two songs with John that's otherworldly for me. I mean, I was a blues breaker for 15 minutes, you know. I mean, it's pretty incredible. You know, I mean, it's always been great playing with all kinds of different people. I mean, you know, I played with so many people, even, you know, not in this configuration, but I mean, you know, I would jam with Stevie a lot in Austin. We would do a lot of benefits and stuff, and I'd somehow end up always being the drummer on those benefits, and he'd play, and it was always great to play with Stevie. And I don't know, I've always had, you know, great luck playing with great guitar players. It's just been something that I've had.
Magnetism, manifest destiny. Make sure nobody's looking, but since you played with both Stevie and Eric, I was just curious, who's louder on stage?
Well, I think that's variable. I mean, Stevie was loud. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he was louder at certain times than he was at other times. I mean, I don't know. I never really thought of it. I never really thought about it, really. I mean, I played with Eric Quinn. It was pretty loud. I played with Stevie.
What?
It was loud. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you know, I never even came to mind, really. I just kind of show up and play.
Well, awesome, Tommy. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Pleasure.
Really, really
Great.
appreciate
I'm
it.
glad we were able to do this. It's an interesting setting, but it's great. And that's even cooler. I dig it.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
My pleasure, Brendan.
Thanks for watching. Wasn't that fun? Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Don't be a dick. Click like and subscribe. And if you can, please check out my Patreon below and help out.